Of all the big video game companies that are still around at the moment, I'd have to say the one I feel the most sorry for are Ubisoft. You know how in some movies or shows you've got that village drunk who rambles on and shits his pants, and then it turns out they used to be a pro athlete or a bodyguard to the royal family or some shit like that, only to fail in their career and now they're just someone who exists with no purpose? That's basically what Ubisoft is. Watch Dogs, that franchise that combined manipulating technology and gunplay together in a pretty unique way, that's dead and buried. The open world squad-based Ghost Recon games, they're currently stuck in a coma at this point. Assassin's Creed is probably their biggest franchise, so you'd think they'd try and do something to maintain their prize-winning stallion, but instead they've decided to slowly beat it to death, halving the amount of content, making the open world about 3 times the size it needs to be to pad it out, and just completely rewriting the gameplay until it's not even about being an assassin anymore. Far Cry made the mistake of thinking people cared more about the gunplay than the story, and as such each new installment has gotten further and further away from what made Far Cry 3 so good. And what was that other franchise they had? The one about the guy with the floating limbs and the helicopter hair? Could we do something with him? Oh no, they need him to play second fiddle in his own fucking universe to a bunch of retarded rabbits. And so that brings us to Splinter Cell. They basically don't make anything with Splinter Cell anymore. It's just more of a cheeky reference they throw into other games to remind you of when Ubisoft had some integrity to it, and that's it. The last major thing Sam Fisher's been in is Rainbow Six Siege, and even then they made sure to hide the most recognisable parts of him behind a paywall. I think most people would say that this franchise was pretty much dead. Well, until this past week, where they dropped Splinter Cell DeathWatch on Netflix. Silently, I might add. There's no promotion for it at all on the Netflix homepage, and it hasn't even managed to break into the top 10, it's just been dumped here. But don't you worry, I found it and I'm here to tell you if it's absolute garbage like most video game adaptations that appear on these streaming services, or a surprise resurrection of the franchise. I will say the series opens on an actual half-decent infiltration scene of a Splinter agent attempting to meet up with another member of the group, taking out guards and making their way there only to find the other agent dead. Upon seeing this, she proceeds to take off her mask, unplug herself from the comms and breaks down crying. You'd think a highly skilled Black Ops agent would have been taught how to compartmentalize their emotions and keep on the job, but I guess in this new era of the Echelon Group's history that's just run by women, allowing your agents to have hissy fits in the field is just the norm now. Women. Anyway, she gets the data from the dead operative's tooth and then begins to take out the guards in the building, and for some reason she decides not to put her mask back on, because being a secret agent apparently means you don't need to try and keep your identity a secret anymore. Echelon ends up getting hacked and informed that most of their systems are being shut down and their operatives cut off. Grim, the head of Echelon, manages to phone the operative, Zinnia, about the situation and tells her to head to some coordinates. After getting on a train and then stealing a car, the highly advanced agent that was told to not use her systems because they've been compromised decides to activate the GPS on her OPSAT, so the bad guys, who are alert and hunting her down because the stealth operative decided to slaughter an entire building full of their men, then begins to track her. You dumb bitch. Zinnia reaches her destination, which turns out to be the residence of Sam Fisher, who is now retired on a farm. He rescues her and then slowly begins to take out the hit squad that was following her. Grim phones Sam, asking him to transport the injured Zinnia to her destination, which he agrees to do so. And I must say he's very relaxed about the fact his retirement and home are now gone. You'd think he'd be at least mildly annoyed about it, but no. In fact, he's quite pleased to be talking to Grim and working again. So why are you even in fucking retirement in the first place? They have no hesitation in taking you back and putting you on missions, so
why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
The bad guys, led by a mercenary called Gunther, burns his farm down and begins tracking him. We are then introduced to Displace International, a former private military organisation that was run by the deceased Douglas Shetland, now focusing on renewable energy, with Diana and Charlie Shetland, his children, firing the rest of the board of the company for refusing to support them. As Sam takes Zinnia to the safe house, we get flashbacks revealing that he and Douglas used to be friends. After restocking on supplies, Sam then lures the bad guys into a cafe and begins to take them down. And while I do enjoy this scene, building up the dread of the bad guys as they start to get picked off and they have to chase after Sam, there's a few things I dislike about it right off the bat. For a start, he deliberately turns on his signal and then lures them to a public place, where Gunther nearly blows up an innocent dude's head when he thinks it's Sam. And then he lures them into a church and they end up up killing a priest that Sam decided to not inform of the situation. He just comes across as extremely callous considering how he's previously been portrayed, and also how he'll act throughout the rest of this series. We also see two of the mercenaries enter from the back of the cafe, and despite the two of them being in a line basically, somehow the one in the back gets a knife directly in the forehead and the other dude doesn't even notice.
Magic.
As they chase after him into some old apartment buildings, Sam, the very old hyper-intelligent super spy who is aware of his strengths and weaknesses, decides that the best way to eliminate one of the guards is to just use garrote wire instead of just stabbing the dude in the neck, leading to him getting overpowered, and now everyone knows where he is. After dispatching some of the grunts, Gunther finds him and decides the best way to deal with Sam is by throwing both himself and Sam out the window, dropping 5 floors down onto a car that somehow doesn't kill either of them. Now, despite being in his 60s, having been brutally beaten down, stabbed several times, and then flung 5 stories out a window onto a car, Sam is the one who manages to win this fight. And just in case you were wondering, yes, this show is made by the same people who made John Wick. So at this point, Sam could get shot 23 times and then hit by 7 cars and a truck, and he'd still win for all I know. And then after everything that just happened, and the fact there's still people tracking him, Sam then apparently went out and just got groceries.
What?
Why the fuck didn't you do that first and then lure the bad guys out? Shouldn't you be bleeding to death at this point? It's just so tonally bizarre to see him go through all this. And then the next time we see him, he's just casually strolling into a safe house with shopping bags.
Well, that's retarded.
Zinnia holds him at gunpoint, demanding to know what happened, with the two of them then talking over dinner. The two of them pack up and leave just before the bad guys storm their safe house.
So, you want to tell me where we're going?
Drive first. Questions later.
I mean, this is the Sam Fisher. You know who he is. You'd think this would be a common sense thing to keep him informed, but no. He's on a need-to-know basis for some reason.
This is not okay.
Grim and Joe discuss their systems being down and their operatives being in danger, intending to meet up with someone who might be able to help. At a conference, Diana reveals Xanadu, an island that will be entirely run by renewable energy sources. Grim goes to meet the hacker, Thunder, and informs him of 4th Echelon and what's happening. He initially refuses, but after hearing about how bad the situation is, he decides to help. Sam gives his dog, Kaiju, to some contacts to look after until everything is safe again. The old couple and Kaiju then just teleport away when Sam gets in the car. Seriously, first they're here and then they're just gone. Zinnia explains that the dead operative from the opening was a CIA mole investigating Displaced International and some shady operations they might have in regards to their green energy power sources. On top of being a mole in Displaced International, he was also stuck deep in Zinnia's Thunder is brought back to HQ where he begins to fix the network, while Zinnia informs Sam that the tooth isn't all she needs, and they need to find the watch in his apartment, with Sam forcing a wounded Zinnia to rest while he gets the files. Sam starts to sneak into the apartment, where he gets immediately spotted by someone and has to fight them. A master of stealth at work here. Sam manages to take them out and hide them, where he overhears that Diana is phoning for an update. Sam sneaks into the bedroom and manages to get the watch, but not before having to kill another mook and alerting the rest to his presence. And I will say, I like how they depict silencers in this scene here. Yeah, the gunshots aren't as loud, but if you shoot one in a building, people are still gonna fucking hear it.
Nice.
Thunder fixes the network and manages to get in contact with the both of them.
And this raddled old coffin dodger is Sam Fisher.
Ha, get it? Because he's old and not at his physical peak and past his prime, unlike me.
Shut up, bitch!
Thunder addresses Sam with the cover name he used to get into the hotel, with Sam realising that the bad guys must also know this information if he does. They then flee in a car towards the jet that's going to rescue them, being pursued by the bad guys, and Zinnia removes one of the cars in a way that's so over the top I actually really enjoy it. Their wheels get shot out by Freya, another mercenary, with Sam managing to buy them enough time to get on the plane and escape. On the plane, Sam encourages Zinnia to talk about her feelings or they'll end up catching up to her, but she refuses to talk. We see Diana running her company getting annoyed when Charlie doesn't attend conferences he's supposed to be at. As Zinnia struggles to cope with her loss, Sam and Grim talk.
She reminds me of you.
Get it, guys? She's like Sam before he became old and not as cool. Sam informs her that Diana is involved in the situation, and we then get a flashback to when he and Douglas were in Afghanistan, with Douglas torturing a prisoner to death when he's supposed to be extradited, with the two of them arguing about how unfair it is that the terrorists get to go to jail when soldiers like the two of them get sent to die for no reason. Thunder manages to figure out that the tooth acts like a key to access the data on the watch, but they still need another audio key to access the information. Sam visits Zinnia, attempting to talk to her about her loss, only for her to immediately brush him off again and then leave.
Really, nigga?
Freya manages to infiltrate a oil tanker disguised as one of the workers, while Zinnia goes for a run, having PTSD flashbacks. She listens to a song that she and the agent used to listen to together, realizing that this is the audio key they need to access the data. They access the files, being Diana's financial records, and they discover that Xanadu has drained her financially, with her and the company swimming in debt. They find some more files, heavily encrypted, when Sam spots one file that can only be accessed by using Diana's phone. As Sam gets ready to steal the phone, Grim informs Zinnia that Sam has a relationship with the Shetlands, where we see in a flashback a child Diana receives a present from him, a book with the same name of the file they need to access. We then see Freya sabotaging the ship she's on and killing security members.
Get the fuck out of my room! I'm playing Minecraft!
Thunder creates a decoy of Diana's phone, and they will swap the phones around, and when Diana activates the decoy it will give them access to the real phone, and therefore the file. In a flashback, Sam is testifying in court over actions surrounding the prisoner Douglas killed, where Douglas is charged as guilty and dishonorably discharged. Diana hosts a gala for people to attend, with Zinnia going undercover and Sam waiting in the car as backup. Zinnia goes around the gala, openly talking to absolutely no one, which sounds like the most obvious thing for a spy not to do.
You're a fucking idiot.
She overhears that Diana's assistant has left the phone in her room, with Sam making his way to the hotel room to snatch it, while Thunder delays the assistant's elevator. We then get a weird scene with Zinnia talking to Charlie, but he quickly picks up on the fact he already met someone from the magazine she claims to represent, and he knows who's supposed to be on the guest list. You'd think this would be a panic moment and that her cover would be blown, but he just doesn't care, completely dropping his suspicions and asking her to interview him instead. Now obviously there's a twist later on that I think they're trying to use to explain this, but if they had stopped Diana, then the entire company, the thing he's fighting for, would also be gone, which he doesn't want. So either he's trying to sabotage his own plan, or they literally make one of the antagonists forget key information he just noticed to not blow Zinnia's cover.
But the people are retarded.
Sam manages to get the phone and get out, starting the decoding process. Zinnia begins to talk to the two siblings, but she has to leave when Gunther shows up. I would say he should be dead after getting thrown 5 stories onto a car, having his eye gouged out and then getting stabbed right in the midsection, but then again Sam is alright, so who the fuck can keep track at this point. Gunther informs her that Freya has sabotaged the boat and then shows her footage of Sam in the hotel, with Diana wanting him eliminated. Zinnia slips the decoy phone into the assistant's pocket, with Diana touching it and allowing them access to the phone and the file. Zinnia follows Gunther but gets knocked out and captured, and although Sam chases after her, he comes across several vans that all look the same, with Sam unable to find out which one it is.
That's fucking stupid. I mean, really. What is wrong with these people?
Grim asks Sam to come in and debrief, but Sam refuses, instead going out on his own. Gunther ties Zinnia up and begins to torture her, demanding to know about the data as well as showing her the damage that Sam did to his eye. The group then go over the documents they decoded. Diana and Charlie get into an argument over how to proceed, with Diana expressing how Charlie is the half-brother that barely even knew their father and that she gets to decide what's going to happen. Sam finds one of their compounds and infiltrates it. The group finds information on Green X, a tech company the Shetlands took over which helped to create Xanadu, although the people at the company questioned its efficiency, and they then see an explosion has occurred at the Green X facility, killing off witnesses. Sam cuts the lights, shooting one guard, and then proceeds to do absolutely nothing for a few seconds, allowing the other guards to try and shoot him. After taking them out, he takes out 2 more guards, lying on the ground exhausted. He's been running, jumping and smashing his way through the previous 5 episodes, but the act of fighting 5 people in close quarters combat is enough for him to clutch his heart. Gunther receives a phone call mentioning the ship Freya will explode. I mean, if both of you are talking about the plan, then surely you both know the name of the ship already and wouldn't need to bring it up. Almost like they need him to say it here so Zinnia can overhear and tell the group later. I will say I do like this little subversion they have here. The scene keeps cutting between Sam trying to reach a door as Zinnia gets closer to being killed. And when he bursts through the door, you think he's going to find her and rescue her, but instead it turns out he's trying to reach Diana, with Zinnia instead escaping by herself. Zinnia unscrews part of the steel restrainer and manages to pry it loose, fighting Gunther. She then shoots him twice before barbecuing him in a furnace. And I must admit that's a pretty wicked death scene. As Freya is on the ship, Zinnia sends Freya a photo of Gunther's dead body, causing her to freak out and kill the other members of staff in the canteen with her. In a flashback, we see the Yakuza buying classified info on Sam, only for Sam to murder them and destroy the documents. He tracks down the buyer, which turns out to be Douglas, who has been selling info to a variety of groups to start wars across the world, hoping to rebuild the world as a better place once the fighting is stopped. Despite attempting to talk him down, Douglas tries to shoot him, and Sam is forced to kill him in retaliation. Somehow Sam isn't shot at all, despite the both of them just being stood right in front of each other.
How convenient is fucking that?
Diana lambasts Sam for killing her father, abandoning her and trying to justify it through patriotism. He tries to get her to explain Xanadu, but she refuses, continuing to talk about the failures of Sam and her father before leaving. Sam, you remember that one of your colleagues is being viciously tortured right now, right? You want to try and get that sorted? No, you'll just let her walk away? Okay. It's almost like he's read the script and he knows Zinnia's going to be fine. Thunder finds more files, showing blueprints for a German gas facility. Sam then picks up Zinnia. The two get patched up and Grimm tells them about the gas facility, believing that Diana intends to destroy it. Zinnia tells them about the ship that Freya is on, making them realise she intends to use the ship to blow up the facility. And if the facility is destroyed, it has the potential to cut off heating and energy to large parts of Europe, which would force them to buy her alternative energy sources. With them not having time to mobilise all the militaries to help stop them, Sam and Zinnia gear up to intercept the ship. Quick question, why can't they contact anyone? Just tell them there's a ship on the way, here's the name of the ship, and here's where it roughly is. It just seems a bit contrived. Also,
Go stop that fucking ship.
could you not have gotten a better take than this? Something a bit more dramatic to sell this? This is supposed to be a dramatic ending to the episode and it just reads like she's just looking at the lunch menu. They rappel down the ship while Diana arrives at Xanadu. They stumble on a room filled with bodies, with Sam comforting one of the dying workers, and then they split up. As Diana gives a tour of Xanadu to the government officials, Sam fails to repair the sabotaged engine room, and Zinnia makes her way to the bridge. She spots something outside, and instead of just plugging the encryption device into the navigation port and allowing Thunder to stop the bad guys immediately, she decides to not plug it in and check the outside. She then sees Freya running at her, and instead of doing anything, she just looks at her, allowing Freya to start shooting. Both of them lose their firearms, Freya because she decides to waste all of her bullets shooting absolutely nothing, while Zinnia chooses to rush out of cover towards her without shooting, allowing herself to get hit and disarmed.
Well, that was idiotic.
They get into a brutal fight, with Zinnia smashing the shit out of her before finally deciding to put the device in the ship. And then Freya pulls out a grenade, and Zinnia decides to just stand there watching the grenade get thrown at her for several seconds without doing anything, nearly getting blown up when it goes off. Sam enters the bridge and finds Zinnia on the other side of the consoles. Thunder gets into the system, but finds the navigation unresponsive. Charlie phones Diana, and it's discovered that he already hacked the ship and changed its course to Xanadu, intending to take over the company and take advantage of the power vacuum in Europe when the country leaders on the island die. Now, they can't change the ship's direction, but is there any reason why none of them decide to blow the ship up? I know it'll destroy loads of oil, but isn't that better than having the leader of countries be killed and trillions of dollars invested in the island to go down the drain? Also, why is there no security bordering this island? Both Diana's and the world leaders. I get that Diana's might have been paid off by Charlie, but why would you have all these world leaders here and no security to guard them from anyone who might try and attack the island? Sam and Zinnia escape to the lifeboat, escaping right before the ship smashes into Xanadu, killing Diana and the dozens of world leaders and scientists on it. The shockwave destroys their escape vessel and flings them into the ocean, where Sam flashes back to a conversation with Douglas, who encourages Sam to always do the right thing, even if the cycle of violence repeats itself. Zinnia rescues Sam, lamenting on how they failed as the world watches the destruction on the news. After Diana's funeral, Charlie is in the office, preparing funds for his business when the power goes out and Sam appears, shooting him dead. And that is the end of Splinter Cell DeathWatch Season 1. Now, I know I've been a bit harsh in this review, but to be honest, for what it is, the show isn't that bad. I don't think it's particularly good either, but I think extraordinarily average is a compliment when it comes to video game adaptations at this point. For the positives, I like the music, I think the intro is pretty cool, I think the characters are decently handled most of the time. I always find it refreshing when a piece of media makes the random mooks competent at their job. Gunther and Freya barely even get name dropped in the show, we aren't really given any sort of information about them or who they are, they're just really competent henchmen that want to get the job done. I think the fight scenes and animation can be enjoyable a lot of the time, and I really enjoy the double cross twist ending. They made it a point throughout the season to build up Charlie's desire to expand their plans, while Diana refuses and constantly puts him down, giving reasons to destroy the island and take over when given the chance. And it works. I genuinely didn't expect this, especially as they don't really show a ruthless side to him. On to the negatives. Just like how some of the fights and animation looks good, it can sometimes look a bit bad, often like they're missing seconds of frames and making the animation look janky. These are the same people that helped to make John Wick, and as such you'll constantly see people getting the absolute fucking shit beaten out of them, only for them to be absolutely fine. The fight scene in the second episode, especially as it's juxtaposed with Sam just casually walking in with groceries afterwards, was just a massive tonal shift. Zinnia also gets badly injured, constantly reopening her wounds and then proceeding to get beaten and tortured, and by the final fight she manages to wipe the floor with Freya, even though Freya is in a much better condition than her. She even manages to rescue Sam from drowning, which we'll get into in a minute. I also hate how callous Sam seems to be at times. Sometimes he'll comfort a dying man until he passes away, other times he'll deliberately use an old man as bait and then let a priest get executed when he could have warned him. I don't know. I understand you can't save everyone, but if you're gonna lure people into a trap, then maybe scope out somewhere more abandoned and set things up properly instead of just letting yourself get tracked to a public area full of innocents. And then we have the usual thing that these shows seem to do, and that's making the main character the secondary protagonist, so the female / black female sidekick can put them in their place. Now, this isn't the worst case of this. Sam is still a major character, he helps to keep the plot rolling, and he does have a personal connection to the bad guys, but it feels like he's here to prop Zinnia up. Sam has his life get uprooted helping Zinnia out, he is nothing but compliant and helpful to Echelon, and despite being his goddaughter, Sam continues to try and do the right thing to stop her until the very end, even initially refusing to evacuate the ship because he desperately wants to save the people on Xanadu, only leaving when he's told constantly they have no choice. And then we have Zinnia. Zinnia is introduced immediately failing to be a professional, and as a result decides to kill everyone in the building, alerting Diana's forces to her presence and causing herself to get injured, forcing Grim to get her to go to Sam and ruining his retirement. She's then very standoffish towards the guy who's been keeping her safe and patching her up, giving us this infamous scene.
And this raddled old coffin dodger is Sam Fisher.
If these were old friends and they had some chemistry together, then this would be an acceptable joke to make, but they barely know each other and she's not really much of a jokester. She's very cold towards people, especially at this point when she's still grieving the loss of her lover. They also do that thing where the main character isn't worthy of their iconic costume until the end of the season. There's a scene where Sam stares at his signature lenses in the safe house and he decides to ignore them despite how useful they would be, almost like the writing saying that Sam isn't ready to wear them again yet. After they get evacuated, she continues to be cold to Sam, and when they swap Diana's phone, she immediately jeopardizes everything trying to kill Gunther, and she would have died if it wasn't thanks to one bolt being loosened. She then shows no thanks or appreciation for Sam coming to get her, and then when she's on the ship, Sam basically bumbles around the ship failing to do anything while Zinnia gets the final fight, winning despite how damaged her body must be compared to Freya. And even though she's physically exhausted and bleeding badly after the fight, and Sam has done basically nothing on the ship to make him exhausted, when they're drowning at the end, he's the one that gets knocked out and needs her help to survive. I don't know, I feel like Sam should have had more time to shine in the final episode of his own show. I also dislike them killing Charlie off at the end. We've just gone a season of everyone, including myself when I first watched it, underestimating him, with his plan going off successfully and giving him the power of the company, ready to take advantage of the power vacuum he created in Europe. And then he's apparently killed off at the end before he gets the chance to really do anything. They could have at least had Sam talk to him. This is the son of a close friend of his and the brother of his goddaughter that he just watched die. You'd think they do something for this with season 2, and hopefully I'm wrong about this. It does cut to black before we see him die, but it just seems like they killed him off really, and I think that's really wasted potential. So yeah, overall, as a return to the Splinter Cell franchise, it's definitely got the capacity to have a solid second season. They just really need to make sure that the secondary characters don't overshadow Sam anymore, make sure that the people don't act out of character for the sake of a cool fight scene or moment, and please just tone down the damage people take in these fight scenes. I already found a lot of these John Wick style fights to be so over the top it takes me out of them because I don't know if the injury is supposed to be serious or not. So watching Sam get the shit kicked out of him, get stabbed several times and then thrown out of the top of a building window onto the ground below, and not only survive but win the fight, and be completely fine afterwards to buy groceries was one of the dumbest things I've seen in a piece of media in a long time. Also, I've got no idea why this is called DeathWatch, by the way. There's no one called DeathWatch, there's no organisation that's named DeathWatch, there's no project called DeathWatch. This is just a random title they picked for the show. But overall, I do look forward to seeing a more Sam Fisher focused, grounded season 2 of this show. So if you want a bit of just light entertainment, yeah, I'd recommend you check it out. Thanks for watching, lads and lasses. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing and checking out some of my other videos. Sharing always helps, and if you're feeling really generous, please consider my Patreon or YouTube membership. I also have a Twitter and occasionally I do live streams. But most of all, I just hope you had a great day and hopefully I will see you in the next video.